Is ready? Yeah. All right. Call me to order. Everybody stand up and pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, can we get a roll call, Madam Auditor? Here.
Present.
Here. Here. Here.
Here.
All right, we've got a minute. Approval of council minutes for budget second reading, September 22nd, 2020, September 24th, 2020, September 29th, 2020, October 1st, 2020, and regular council meeting, January 5th, 2021.
Move to approve.
Guys, motion on the floor to approve, second. Questions on the motion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. First reading, Madam Auditor.
Notice to by giving the taxpayers of Porter County, Indiana, that proper legal offices of Porter County will meet the Porter County Government Administration Building at 155 Indiana Avenue, Valparaiso, Indiana, January 25th, 2021, at 5:30 p.m. to consider the following appropriation adjustments to the county budget for the year 2021, which transact any further business of the Porter Council. Drug Free Community Fund 1148, $180,000. Accident Report Fund 1101, data processing for $2,757. Parks Operating Fund 1179, legal 4,000. Property Report Fund 164, office supplies 10,000. Overweight vehicle 4201, training and tag 5,000. Other data tax fund 4907, other mobile equipment 26,711. 93.946, grant fund. 8158, furniture and fixtures, 4,400, and other equipment, 2,000. 81.041, Indiana DLE grant fund, other mobile equipment, 31,973, and IDHS SHSP 2020 grant fund, 8161, other mobile equipment, $242,375. And the recycling and waste reduction district, 9993. Salaries, $9,113, FICA, $728, PERS, $5,443. Taxpayers during this meeting shall have the right to be heard thereon. The appropriation adjustments that are found made will be referred to the Indiana Department of Local Government Finance, where applicable, and the LGF. Determine the share of sufficiency of funds to increase the appropriation. Porter County published January.
Thank you. All right, here we go, second reading. Parks and Rec. Walter, come on down. All right, there's an additional appropriation here for $4,000 to legal reasons, due diligence, work related to long-term lease development with community partner. Want to tell us a little bit about this, Walter?
Sure. This is related to the development of a potential long-term lease agreement with the Northwest Indiana Croquet Association.
What is it?
Croquet Association. So this is a group that approached the park board, I want to say maybe 2 or 3 years ago, about developing some sort of partnership. They want to raise private funds to create a publicly accessible area out by the amphitheater. So last year, the park board asked Mr. Hollenbeck to begin crafting what that agreement would look like and do the due diligence for it. This is Bill.
So I guess I'll lead off the question that will probably be followed for a few of these tonight is, this is something that was going on last year. I mean, I'm sure you've got a line item for legal already. Why are you coming in additional in January? Why not begin to expend your line item?
We did not have one in our non-reverting fund last year. We have a legal line item in the general fund, but not in our non-reverting. Usually we just pay Dave his contract and that's it. If there's extraordinary expenses that we get, then we set those aside somewhere else. This happened at the end of the year, and I think I missed the deadline to turn stuff into joy by 1 day or something like that. So by the time the park board met, we got this done. So that's why it's carried over into 2021.
How much do you have in your legal fund now? In your general fund?
In the general fund, I believe it's like 12.5 is the annual amount.
You can't use that?
No, this definitely fell under what... Go ahead, I'm sorry.
You can't use that, or you've chosen not to use that?
The park board asked him to take it out of the non-reverting instead of asking for money out of the general fund.
But you're asking for $4,000 more now.
In the non-reverting fund, correct.
I don't care what fund it in, you're asking for $4,000 more.
Correct.
The Croquet Association contributing anything towards legal?
Just on their side of the agreement, no, the park board did on our side.
So they're gonna use our land, we're gonna pay the legal, so they can play croquet on County Park.
Well, the idea is that it's a public asset, it's not private where the club would...
Well, I know.
Yeah.
Walter, there's a lot involved in them building this, right? And, I mean, so
Oh.
that's not, right?
Yeah, this is everything looking at from how it affects wastewater, how we get more public interaction out there, is the revenue that could be generated off of it, how do you handle sponsorships and events, there's a tourism aspect, so there's all sorts of different things that they've been looking at. The park board was very cautious, though last year, the gentleman who is kind of spearheading this, he's a local attorney in town, so this is what he does. But the park board asked Dave to go ahead and do a whole series of due diligence on not only the National Croquet Association, but the feasibility of something like this and what we would need in a sort of long-term agreement like this, and that's where the bill fell, so.
Okay, you were talking about the money you were going to make on this. How much do you see that?
Until there's more mature business plan, I wouldn't even try to speculate.
Well, okay, you just said that it's going to be a good moneymaker.
No, I did not say it would be a good moneymaker, but there could be revenue that would come off of it. I want to make sure I'm clear on that.
Is this gonna be their only, is this their like home field? Is that the only one they're gonna have in Northwest Indiana? Are there multiple? Is this,
They don't currently own any land. So a number of years ago, they came to the park board. Park board vetted it. They decided that they weren't really interested. So then this group went to the Chesterton Park Board. Chesterton Park Board took a look at it. There was a conversation about whether it was going to be a good fit up there. Chesterton said no. Club came back to the County Park Board. They amended some of the things that they were interested in and how they were trying to plan it. The park board said, okay, let's go. We can start developing a framework of how this will work, and you've got X number of months to raise money for the project. So the due diligence part that Dave did last year is completed. They're now in their fundraising process right now.
Are we gonna have to spend money to build this facility, or they are?
Nope.
How many acres is it going to take out of this?
Oh, gosh, I bet you it's probably about maybe an acre out there behind the amphitheater.
And they're gonna put the infrastructure in?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they've committed to all of that. There's no cost to us.
So Walter, the legal services, the requester is an additional $4,000, you're saying that's, is that the total amount for this specific event or group?
That's the total amount for what the park board asked Dave to do in regards to due diligence. I will also share with you that they have told Dave, and they've shared with the Northwest Indiana Croquet Association, that they're not allowing him to do additional work until further steps have been accomplished by the association. So they've committed to, they're not spending any more money on this until...
How about if other associations come forward to you? I mean, you know, wanting the same privilege of...
So this is the first time we've had something that's this complicated, right? So when the railway garden came, that was a really small section of land that they wanted, just a few hundred square feet. They weren't asking for any utilities. There was nothing permanent that was being altered by the land. So a simple MOU was sufficient. But this is considerably larger, so a 2- or 3-page MOU isn't going to
So
cut
they're
it.
putting in restrooms and...
Yep, there would be utilities, correct. I would imagine that anything that this size that came along again, but yes, the park board would probably do the same thing.
You're saying it's a long-term lease or...
Yes, that we would have to be, if we were talking about putting something like this in.
50 years? Yeah, 100 years? What are you talking?
Well, everything from the current lease with the railway garden, I think, was renewed every 3 years. NIPA's every 4 or 5 years, but it says in the document that they can keep extending out up to, whatever, some ungodly number. But it's about every couple of years they look at it again.
And whose option, ours or theirs?
Well, Park Board always has an option to get out of the agreement. So our current agreements with the Northern Indiana Historic Power Association, the Railway Garden Society, Duneman Photography, and I know there's someone I'm missing right now. Every single one of those annual agreements for shared use, you know, whatever the parameters are, whether it's a year or 3 years, there's always a way for us out. And Dave always makes sure there's an escape clause, right? So if something horrible happens, you still have a way to extricate yourself from the agreement.
I have a question. If we were to say no to the additional at this time, would you just take it from your general fund and be able to pay it, or what happens if we do say no to this?
I would have to, the park board and I would have to figure out where else the money comes from. There's no extra dollars in the general fund, like, you know,
Yeah, there is just 12.5 right there.
for the existing contract.
Yeah.
That pays for Hollenbeck's contract for the year.
Correct, yeah. So once we took that out, that would be,
So you'd be coming to us later, I assume?
correct, yep.
Or even renegotiate his contract.
So, there's an item for, guys, there's an additional funding for $4,000. Entertain a motion one way or another for the
I
$4,000.
just hate to do additionals this early in the year. So, sounds great.
I'm happy if there's a line that you'd rather it be transferred out of in the non-reverting fund. I would prefer that we not do it in the general fund without going through the park board, but if that makes you feel more comfortable, pick
You got
anything.
$67,000 in the operating fund for event expenses. Do you think you're gonna spend all that with COVID?
If things get better by August,
Why don't you come see us in August then?
I'm not sure I understand what that
I'll
means.
make the motion to take the $4,000 out of, to transfer out of park operating event expenses. You got $35,000 for advertising. You can find $4,000 pretty quick. And I agree with Mr. Bozak, it's the first meeting of the year, we're already doing additionals. We didn't have a meeting, what would you do?
Wait
There was
till,
a lot of conversation, not even having a meeting in January, what would you have done?
wait until next month?
And then there was a lot of conversation about January, February, March. Everybody has a new budget.
So this,
We're already doing additionals.
I want to make sure that I'm clear again. This was supposed to go in last year.
That's not my problem. Last year's budget got passed. Everybody was here. You were here.
It is absolutely your right to deny the request.
Well, thanks for giving us that privilege. I'll make a motion to deny the request.
All right, there's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Yes, because I'd like to see it come out later in the year if we do need it.
There's a motion and a second on the floor to deny the additional $4,000 out of legal. Any further discussion? Get a roll call on the denial of the additional, Madam Auditor.
Councilmember Bozak?
Yes.
Councilmember Brickner?
No.
Councilmember Graham?
Yeah.
Councilmember Jessen?
No.
Councilmember Paparad?
Yes.
Councilmember Sims?
No.
And Councilmember Rivas?
Yes. So, is there an interest on, Vicki, can a transfer be made out of his operating right now?
Well,
I think it's a good program. I just
Mr.
don't
Rivas,
think we should do it.
Yes, sir.
he has $1.2 million in his budget between both funds. And he can't find $4,000?
Well, that's what, I mean, you guys, somebody suggested some other,
Where do I have $1 million?
I'm not adverse to spending the money. I'm adverse to an additional in the first meeting of the year for $4,000 when you got $1.2 million in your budget.
I don't know, but, so is there,
Where's $1.2 million?
Walter?
Well, I don't know, 700,000 and 500,000 round numbers. That's what I'm looking at.
All right. Hold on, Walter. So, what would you transfer from right now? Do you have a legal line item? Where's your legal line item at?
General fund.
This is general fund up top. Where's your, why don't I see a legal line item up there? What am I missing?
It's contractual attorney.
There it is.
Yeah.
So where can you transfer, where can you transfer right now, Walter?
In the non-reverting fund or the general fund?
Your general.
General, anything other than salaries and FICA.
I know there's event expenses and advertising, but the transfer, can it be done from this non-reverting?
Yeah. Yeah, you can take it out of event expenses. Advertising, no, there's probably close to...
What would we transfer it to in this,
It would go from event expenses to
consult,
legal, 3110.
Can we do that between funds, though?
that's what I'm wondering, can you do it between funds like that?
No, this is all in the operating fund, the non-reverting
Right, this 1179. So where would you put in that, what line item would you transfer it? I know, because there's no legal line item in what I'm seeing, that's what I'm just asking. Where can you pay for that?
We would just, total just create.
Okay, all right.
What about consultants?
Well, that's what I asked. So I'll entertain a motion if there's an additional for, a transfer, you guys. Walter, what did you say expenses are advertising?
There's only going to be a couple thousand left in there, please not advertising.
Expense events, expense?
Yeah, take it out of
Event-
event expenses, that's fine.
I would make a motion that we take it out of event expenses and transfer.
There's a motion for a $4,000 transfer, a second,
I'll second.
for $4,000 out of event expenses into a legal line item. Is there any further discussion? All in favor of the transfer signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Well, that was
Thank you.
the first one of the year. Wow. For croquet.
Well, we gotta be tight, we all know
Who's
what's
up
coming.
next?
Oh, I don't want this prosecutor,
Prosecutor forfeiture fund, there's an additional $10,000 to office supplies. The reason appropriations need for the outstanding bills and future anticipated expenses. I think you just heard the croquet conversation.
Yeah, so this is really just a transfer to a line item. It's our forfeiture monies. It's just to increase the amount of money in the office supply line that we're going to need for expenses related to our move to the new building.
To what?
It's our move to the new building. We're going to need additional office supplies for,
When is that move?
I don't know.
Well, and I'm just curious, then why are we moving that now? Is there a reason that we have to do it now versus when it gets closer, or?
Well, it's going to be any time. It
Oh,
was supposed to
soon.
have been a year ago.
See-
So we anticipate it being in March, I'm going to say. Furniture's arriving, they're putting it together, so anytime.
What was budgeted? I believe
I
it
think
was
we had
20.
like 2,000,
That's it?
it's just, that's all we put in there to begin with. 20.
We budgeted
$5,000.
$5,000, and you think you're going to need $15,000 for the move?
We do.
But what did we miss,
well,
what did
it's
we
not
miss,
just
Gary?
right.
What do we know now that we didn't know then? What changed?
In budget session?
We have other office supply lines in our budget, in infraction deferral, in pretrial diversion, and we just put a little bit to establish two line items, and one of them was office supplies. I just want to make sure we may not even use this money, but in all likelihood, we will. We need, we had to purchase our carts to carry our files from the new building to court that are waterproof and weatherproof.
Gary, what kind of bothers me, and you're saying, future, anticipated expenses, why don't, you don't really know for sure what you're gonna need, why don't you come back when you really know?
Well, Sylvia, it's our money. It's our forfeiture money. I don't understand why we can't put it into the line item that we want. If we don't use it, we don't use it.
Because that's our role, right? We budget, we do transfers, additionals. So, I think the point is that we knew the move was coming, everybody knew, so why not budget? Why not budget for $15,000 a couple months ago, Gary? I think that's the point. You say it's your money, but, we have a role here too, that's why you have to come in front of us.
Yeah, no, well, we just didn't think of it. I don't know. We need the money now.
So,
And what was it?
How about giving him a five? You think about giving him a hand?
so there's a request in front of you for an additional $10,000 to office supplies. We say outstanding bills too, though. There's outstanding bills for office supplies?
Yes.
So I would go to, did you miss the encumbrance? Wouldn't that be part of encumbering some money if you had some?
Well, they've, since the beginning of the year, since we've started to order the things that we need for our move.
There's a request in front of you. Entertain a motion either way or some way?
How about, okay, 5,000, and if he needs more to come back.
Is that a motion?
Yes.
There's a motion on the floor for a $5,000 additional. Is there a second?
I'm trying.
Is there a second?
I'll second it to get to
There's a
discussion.
second for a $5,000 additional office supplies. Further discussion?
I'd like to ask the same question I asked Parks. What happens if we say no? What happens if they say no to 10 or 5, you just get, they don't move anything?
Well, we don't have enough money to pay the bills, and then I'll be back here with a creditor asking for their money.
Well,
Or
are there
just next month.
outstanding bills, Vicki? Does he have outstanding bills now?
Yes, in the upcoming claim cycle, there are some bills that we already put in some claims for. But I can't speak to beyond that because
Well,
I don't think you're gonna get taken to claims in 30 days.
What else comes out of the
Yes.
forfeiture fund? What else?
Point out, remind everyone and put it in numbers, this is a brand-new fund that was just created last year, when it was our new forfeiture fund program. And so last year, there really isn't a track record of how much money this fund is gonna be bringing in. And at the time of budget hearing, no one knew what kind of money it was gonna be bringing in.
So there's nothing budgeted to be spent against this money?
you still don't know what it's
Well, there
going to
is.
bring in, but you've got that much.
The council did approve.
There's $10,000. I think her point, I think her point is we're not sure what you're gonna be receiving. Was there an estimate?
Well, current cash balance is about 41,000.
41?
So, yeah, so there's,
Oh.
so,
Is there plans to use it?
Yeah.
What's this fund gonna be used for? Since I wasn't here.
That really is our discretionary money. It's money that is, we can't tell you what it will be because it's based on the amount of monies that are forfeited in our drug work.
No, but I meant, what is your plans for the money? Why is it?
We're just, I mean, like I said, it's discretionary money. I prefer just to hold it for emergencies, in case, one of the other funds can't support something that we need. It could be for an expert witness, it could be trial expenses, it could be anything.
any further discussion on the motion? Get a roll call.
You can make 5,000 work for this next month and then see what happens next month.
Sure, but it's, I just,
Well, you like to
coming
visit us,
back
right?
here every month to say the same thing to you. I still say it's money that belongs to the prosecutor's office. I mean, we're not gonna spend it unwisely, if that's the concern.
I don't think so.
We get a roll call on $5,000 additional.
Councilmember Brickner,
Nope.
Councilmember Grant,
Yes.
Councilmember Jessen,
No.
Councilmember Papera,
Yes.
Councilmember Finn,
No.
Councilmember Reaper,
Yes.
and Councilmember Bozick.
Yes.
4 to 3 in the affirmative.
Suppose we're gonna see you next month.
Probably.
All right, thank you. See you later, Gary. Coroner. Looks like we have a grant fund. It's an additional $2,400, furniture and fixtures, over $100. Also $2,000, other equipment. The reason additional is needed for sudden unexplained infant death and sudden death in the young, grant from the Center for Disease Control and Prevention.
Yes.
I'll make the motion.
Yeah, second it.
There's a motion and a second on the floor, discussion.
Are you creating like another office, another person for this?
No, I'm just a chair of a child fatality team in Porter County that is actually mandated by the state. And this is the same as what I brought to you last year, and I'm presenting it in the same way, putting it in the same line as
How much
last
is the
year.
grant for?
And it's a reimbursement grant, so what I actually need is just to have that money in there, in those lines, and then I will be reimbursed as I use it for equipment or whatever I need for it.
Do you know, Coroner Dykes, what, in 2020, what you spent that money on, just to give everyone a general idea as to how you...
We bought new refrigeration units for the office because as part of this, I do DNA, which has to be stored at a certain temperature. So we did get a new refrigeration and freezer for the office.
It's just an idea, it's just,
It was, yeah. Oh, we got backup cameras for our vans, because one of our vans, we only have the side mirrors, and for safety, I thought it would be best to have it like a backup camera mirror, so we've used it for that. Just anything
Whatever you need.
safety that, for the deputies when they go out on a call.
And then, the only question I had, I know in your letter, you said that, on the 12th, commissioners were, it was pending approval for the commissioner meeting, did that go through? And
Yeah, I found out that the ordinance that I originally made with the commissioners last year is for as long as until the grant dissolves.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, so I'm good with that.
Great, thank you.
Mhm.
Any further discussion? We get a roll call on the additional, Madam Auditor?
Councilmember Graham?
Yes.
Councilmember Jessen?
Yes.
Councilmember Papera?
Yes.
Councilmember Sims?
Yes.
Councilmember Reavis?
Yes.
Councilmember Bozak?
Yes.
And Councilmember Burke?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Recycling and waste reduction, general fund additional $9,000, $13 to salary, $728 to FICA, $5,443 to PERF. Reason, additional needed. 3% raises were not awarded due to technical paperwork error, along with FICA and PERF. There is a request in front of you.
I'll make the motion.
Motion.
I'll second it to get the
There's
discussion.
a second. Discussion.
I got a question. The perf seems to be awful high in proportion to the wages increase. I mean, it's like 50% of the salaries, over 50%. The math don't seem right. Am I missing something?
That fee was generated by the auditor's office,
Auditor?
so Tiffany
It
gave me
seems,
those numbers.
Vicki, the math seems out of line, doesn't it?
And more than 50%.
When we originally submitted the budget for advertising purposes, it wasn't advertised high enough, so this is that correction.
The perf we're off that much in perf?
And to include the raises.
Well, I understand the raises we missed, but it's 50% of the raises is perf. That don't seem right.
Yeah, PERF seems to be off more than the wages.
Yeah, that's all.
This is because when the budget was first advertised, I think maybe they, correct me if I'm wrong, Terry, but you didn't include any increases at all?
Correct, we just did the original number, and then we missed it out on the advertised. We went from Form 1 to Form 3.
And so when there were the raises, this is that correction that.
I understand what you said about the raises, but what is perf? 3% or 6%?
Yeah, 11.2.
Okay, 11% of $9,000 isn't $5,400. That's all I'm saying.
That's how we saw what needed to, what should have been.
So then we under budgeted perf too.
Pardon me?
We under budgeted perf.
In what they advertised.
How did that happen? I understand the
Yeah,
paperwork there, but how did we get that
It's
far
a
off?
simple math equation.
It just doesn't, I see his question, it makes sense.
I'm just curious. I mean, we had $1 million in salary, 11%'s perf, right? Even if there was no raises.
We don't.
You don't check their numbers?
For the advertising, this goes back to the original.
What was passed? What was passed? That's all that counts. What was advertised doesn't mean anything.
Okay, so.
I'm just curious why we're off so much on perf, that's all. The wages, I understand, we missed the raise. But the perf doesn't, I don't know. If I'm wrong, tell me, which you will. I'm in rare form tonight.
I see that. It's okay. Get you out of the house once in a while, and
They let me out.
this is it, and you get to let loose a little bit.
I'm just curious why,
It's a high percentage, I get what he's saying, that's a good question.
Yeah,
I mean, we're gonna have to do it.
Yeah.
There's just no way around it. I'm just curious why we're in the position, that's all.
Yeah, it seems like perf would have been off anyway.
Yeah, but not this much.
No, even if we didn't do raises, it seems like it would have been off
Right,
that number.
exactly.
Do you know what
Is
happened
it
last year?
almost double what it should be?
Do you fill out those numbers, or no?
Yeah, I do. I'm the new director. I've been here, just, was my first budget
That's
season.
all right,
And then
that's
they,
all right.
no.
Well, I'm just saying.
Yeah, they're the
I
same.
assume the auditor's office checked all this, at least when we went through budget.
Well, part of it, I mean, the new system, we're all double checking and whatnot. Now, I do know, in regards to perf, this goes back to the district founding when it originally started, that the recycling and waste reduction district does also pay the 3% of the employees' contribution. So perf it is paid the 11% as well as the 3%. That is written in the original founding,
Well, that's interesting.
so the perf is a little bit higher, but in regards to this number,
So the county is paying for
The perf. That's real interesting. That's the first I heard about it.
Are there other boards set up like that, other departments, or that's the only one?
it, and it is true what she's saying, that is how it is set
This
up.
surprises every month. Vicki has her hand.
We have departments that we do not have, their funds. We do not manage their funds. And some of them are called component units, that in our gap report, we see them listed as component units. Recycling is one of them, and airport's one of them. So they submit their own budget, and then when it comes time for the final adoption, I have to sign off on the final adoption.
Okay, that's fine.
Any further, there's a motion, right? Motion second. Any further discussion on these additionals, these corrections? We have a roll call, Madam Auditor.
Councilmember Jessup?
Yes.
Councilmember Papera?
Yes.
Councilmember Sims?
Yes.
Councilmember Reavis?
Yes.
Councilmember Bozak?
Yes.
Councilmember Brickner?
Yes.
And Councilmember Graham?
Yeah,
So actually, everybody's pay in this budget is 3% higher, since the employees do not contribute to perf.
in the perf line,
Is that an accurate statement?
in regards to perf,
Yeah,
that,
okay.
correct, right? Because we.
Well, if they don't contribute, they're getting 3% more than what their salary's showing. That's all. I just wanted to make a point, this is the first I've heard about it, and I've been down here 20 years.
It-
Green
I thought it was-
Bay.
yeah. It's-
Terry, that's how it was.
Yeah, when they started.
No, no, it's not
Yeah,
against-
that's good to
not
know.
against you.
So,
Thank you, Carrie. Have a good evening.
Thank
Be
you.
safe tonight, thank you.
Well,
Right. Well, as you know, Bob is in
Been a rough
rare
time
form.
here.
That's why I sit over here.
Look what he did to Sylvia. Uh-oh.
All
right.
Hey, come on.
What, are you taking Dan's place?
No. Offense to that. All right, Sheriff, in front of us, there's an additional accident report fund, $2,757 of data processing equipment to cover the cost of the new computer to run accident reconstruction software.
Move it approved.
Second.
Just on the, one by one? All right, there's a motion, a second on the floor for the $2,757. Discussion?
Is that coming from the general fund?
No. Accident report fund.
Oh, that's where it's at.
No, I'd like to amend my motion to move all four. It's all to do, with their,
All right, Sylvia's amended her motion to add all
Yep,
four
second.
additional.
Second accepts that.
The second concurs, so The $5,000 additional from training and ed for the overweight vehicle fund, the Lake Indiana Department of Energy grant additional, $31,973. Other equipment, and the Indiana Department of Homeland Security grant additional, $214,375 to purchase explosive incident robots.
That sounds
Discussion
amazing.
on the 4 additionals.
I want to see that robot.
Hearing no discussion, can we get a roll call on the 4 additionals? Madam Auditor?
We got that one.
Yes.
Oh, let's do it.
From
Go
a
ahead.
grant.
Oh, sorry, yes.
Councilmember Reavis?
Yes.
Councilmember Bozak?
Yes.
Councilmember Brickner?
Yes.
Councilmember Grant?
Yes.
And Councilmember Jessen.
Yes.
Jailers, an additional public safety data check, $26,711 to other mobile equipment to cover the balance cost to purchase the explosive incident robot.
Move to approve.
Motion on the floor for approval.
Second.
Second. Discussion. This explosive incident robot, will that be shared throughout the county with all the other
Well,
departments?
it's our bomb team. So they do 7 counties,
7, so this would be shared.
and our SWAT teams.
Yeah.
Okay.
7 counties?
Yeah, we unfortunately have the bomb team.
Are they throwing in for our robot?
This is the grant.
Oh,
Yeah.
they are.
The 214,000 is the grant, and we
And the
are
26.
covering the difference.
There you go.
Thank you.
Just out of quick curiosity, if, let's say it's used some other area, and a bomb goes off and it makes this, it disables this robot, when it gets who pays to get it fixed? Or is this thing supposed to be like indestructible, or,
No.
no?
Well, we wouldn't even be able to get this, because we had an old one and we couldn't pay for the parts. So I want to give a special shout out to Homeland Security. So I went down there several times, and they basically said we're better off applying for a new robot.
Oh.
And so this is a new robot because they couldn't, their line items or how they operate couldn't give us the parts. But to answer your question, we'd just be out of luck. I mean, I would
Just
probably,
curious,
I would
you
go
know.
back to Homeland Security
Yeah.
and see what they can help us with. But they've been awesome for us. And another shout out to the Indiana Department of Energy grant. They gave us that, and they also gave us an ATV, which, not on the county, so they paid for that, for ATV, so.
Well, I pray and hope that this thing is not used but nothing but training, and
Right.
it gets rusty and old and come
That's
back
a
in
fair
10 years,
display,
we'll do
that's a
another
fair-
one.
Tired to have to
It
like.
won't get rust.
There we go. Roll call, additional.
Son's a
Yes.
robotic state qualifier for robotics.
Yes.
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 Councilmember Grant?
Yes.
Councilmember Jessen?
Yes.
And Councilmember Papera?
Yes.
Porter County Substance Abuse, there's an additional in front of you for $180,000 to distributions, grant funding out to the community from the counter.
Move to approve.
Community from the counter.
Okay.
Measure fees received from the courts.
This is great, you guys.
You need a second, Jim?
Is there a motion?
Did you get a?
I got a
you
motion.
Motion?
I motion it.
I'll second.
Second on the floor for the $180,000 additional. Discussion?
The grant.
Get a roll call.
Councilmember Reavis?
Yes.
Councilmember Bozak?
Yes.
Councilmember Brickner?
Yes.
Councilmember Grant?
Yes.
Councilmember Jessen?
Yes.
Councilmember Papera?
Yes.
And Councilmember Grant?
Yes.
7-0.
Thank you, guys.
Good work.
Thank
Keep up the
you.
good work.
All right, auditor, there's a general fund, a transfer, $5,000 from salaries to hourly. The reason transfer to hourly needed because we didn't appropriate anything at budget time for the general fund in hourly. And she also, I talked to her, she would like to present another transfer besides that for $60 from salaries to dues and subscription from line item 11100 to 3930. That has something to do with, because salaries went up and for dues and subscriptions follows. So
I'll move to approve. Motion to approve.
Second.
to both the $5,000
Yes.
and the $60.
Yes.
The motion on the floor in a second. Discussion? All in favor of both transfers signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Second reading now.
Thank you very much.
Sorry, second reading.
Whereas it has been determined that it's not necessary to appropriate more money than was appropriated in the annual budget, therefore it is resolved by the Porter County Council of Porter County, Indiana, that for the expenses of the taxing unit, the following additional sums of money are thereby appropriated out of the county station for the purposes specified subject to the laws governing the same. The drug-free community fund is $180,000, accident report fund, $2,700. Prosecutor forfeiture fund, $5,000. Overweight vehicle, sheriff fund, $5,000. Public safety architect fund, $22,711. The SCYZ grant fund, a total of $4,400. The DOE grant fund, $31,973. The SHSP grant fund, $214,375. And the recycling and waste reduction district, $15,284.
Entertain a motion to approve second reading.
Motion to approve.
Motion,
Second.
second. Discussion. Do a roll call.
Councilmember Bozak?
Yes.
Councilmember Brickner?
Yes.
Councilmember Graham?
Yes.
Councilmember Joseph?
Yes.
Councilmember Pepper?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Yes.
And Councilmember Reed.
Yes. Attorney's report.
No news is good news, no news today, so that's good.
You following all the legislation, anything crazy going on?
Not that, actually, not that I, so, nothing that I think is of any interest,
That's gonna hurt the county.
not that I,
All right. Any other matter? Maybe come before the council?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
There's a motion and a second on the floor to adjourn. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Hey.